Hey guys, my name's Kian Hushman, and in today's video we're going to be checking out what I consider to be the best bass VST library for modern metal and djent. Let's have a look. So if you guys haven't heard of Submission Audio's Djinnbass, I reckon you've been living under a rock, because this is what I consider to be one of the best bass VST libraries on the planet for modern metal and djent. Saying the word djent makes me cringe. As cringy as it is to say, it's absolutely true because it is modelled after a Dingwall bass. The real Dingwall basses are used across so many massive heavy hitters in the modern metal, djent and prog scene, such as Intervals, Periphery, Thornhill, Alpha Wolf, North Lane, just to name a few. So having everything condensed down into a fully fledged virtual instrument is absolutely astounding, and it's something that you guys need to use in your mixes right now. Quick disclaimer, I am an affiliate with Submission Audio, which means I do have affiliate links in my description for all Submission Audio products. However, they did not ask me to make this video. I'm simply making it because I want to, because I love the bass tone that I get and I want to share it with you guys. If you guys do choose to purchase Djinnbass or any of the other Submission Audio based libraries or plugins in the description below using my affiliate links, I do get a little bit of a kickback from it. But again, I'm making this video because I want to, because I really enjoy the bass tones that I get. So without further ado, let's get into it. But before we do, if you guys like this video at any time, please feel free to leave a like and a comment on anything you see or hear. And if you want to see more of this stuff, definitely think about subscribing. If you guys want to support me directly, you can definitely check out my Patreon and all my affiliate links as I mentioned before. All of that stuff is down in the description below. Let's get into the bass tone. Okay, so this project is taken from the ML Sound Labs Amped CB4 demo song. So let's just give it a quick listen and then we'll get into the bass tone. Very, very heavy. Now let's get into the bass tone isolated to see what that sounds like. Djinnbass is by far my favorite. The reason being is that this is a very easy to use library and it sounds exactly like a Dingwall bass, which is basically the sound that you hear on most of the djent or modern metal records you love, whether it's like Periphery, whether it's Alpha Wolf, whether it is Thornhill, North Lane, all those records, all those bands, they use Dingwall. And the bass guitar that was used to make this sample library was a Dingwall bass. As you can see on the bottom right corner, it's a very accurate visual representation of a Dingwall. I don't know about the mojo and the magic going on with Dingwall basses, but it's a sound that I love and it's really, really convenient to have it in a virtual instrument format. So now just going through the plugin, if you guys have already used any of the other bass libraries that Submission Audio offers, you'll notice that the layout is very, very similar. You got your volume knob here, string noise knob, width knob, and muting noise knob. Key switch information, so as you can see there's lots of different articulations you guys can choose from, which is one of the main reasons why I love using Submission Audio libraries. You got harmonic mutes, dead mutes, fast slides, slow slides, pull-offs, hammer-ons, and you can just straight up use the picket as well as a bunch of different string noises that are within those keys there. You can also set how quick it starts to alternate pick. So if you want everything down picked, you can change it so that it only kicks in when there's like a certain amount of time between each note. That's really handy to have as well. And then the tone knob just basically sets how dark or how bright the bass is. I just keep it straight down the middle because I like the way it sounds out the box. Dingwall basses are pretty well known for the clarity anyway, so it is very top endy as it is. And then down the bottom left, you've got the amplifier. So as you can see right now, I've got it turned off, which means I'm using the DI, which means if I was to turn all of this post-processing off here, it would sound just like a straight bass. Whack this on. If you don't want to have all of that stuff, I can turn all this post-processing off so you just get the DI. But then within the actual plugin, there's pre-processed sounds that come included, so I can flick the power on and then you get just like a crunch channel and then a really, really beefy one. So let's just check those out. And then the real heavy one. So if you guys just want the ease of use, something really quick and easy to have in your mixes to make demo tracks and stuff like that, and you know it's going to be a good bass sound, that comes included and it's really, really handy to have. For the purposes of this video though, I'm going to turn that off and go into the DI. So now that we have this loaded up, this project file that you see here, this is a template file that I always open up when I'm doing demo songs for YouTube videos and stuff like that. As you can see, all the drums are color coded. I have my guitars color coded, and then just because I'm lazy, I just have track 50 as my bass, not labeled or anything, but I know that track 50 is my bass. And these are the plugins that I've got loaded on the right hand side here. As you can see, the first one we've got is Parallax. I'm pretty sure this is literally the default setting that opens up when you open the Parallax plugin from NeuroDSP. It sounds absolutely amazing. I can't stress how good it sounds. I think I've just changed the EQ a little bit, so I've pushed up 500 just to get that grime. But honestly, I love this plugin because I don't know much about bass tone, but I know that it sounds good and sounds the way that I want it to. As soon as this plugin loads up, I really don't have to change anything at all. And then the next plugin in the chain is the EQ. As you can see, there are some really weird moves happening here, but I'll explain them all as best as I can. So first off, you got your low cut, so just anything below 30 hertz it's cutting out, just so you don't get that sub bass really messing with your kick drum and stuff like that. Speaking of messing with the kick drum, the fundamental sound of the kick drum in this mix is around 50 hertz, so I've kind of notched out a bit there just so it gives more space for the kick drum. Around 280, 290 is where the kind of low end muck of this bass lives, so I've taken some of that out, and then to compensate for that, I'm boosting up just mids around like 650-ish, just to really get the grime out of the bass. This little move here to boost up the mids in this sort of range is something that I learned from Nolly Getgood, former member of Periphery and the current mixer engineer of Periphery. So he used Dingwall basses, and back when he was doing a mixing masterclass, he mentioned that he really likes the way that this sounds and melds with the guitars, and since my guitar tone is pretty similar to the Periphery one, I figured that this is a great way to go, and it just matches really well with the whole aura of the bass. Moving on here, we have a series of cuts happening, and this is just because the Dingwall is very, very chimey, and you do get a little bit of string noise and stuff like that. So if I was to single all of these out, you definitely hear something happening in all of these bands here, especially around like the 2.5K mark. That's where like it gets really, really grindy on the Dingwall basses, so I do like to notch that out just a little bit. So let's go through the track again, single out each band and see what it's doing. This might seem a little bit weird to have all these cuts here. I know a lot of people like to have their high cut a little bit more lower on the register and kind of have it as like a more less of a slope, so it kind of evens out more and it's not as harsh on the ears. But I just like this approach better. I kind of like molding the guitar and the bass almost like one instrument, so keeping all the high end in the bass, or at least some of it, is a sound that I like a lot. Moving on, we have Virtual Mix Rack. Really, it's not doing that much. It's just pushing up some of the highs that we've just taken out, just kind of lifting the whole top end of the bass, so it kind of sounds more present in the mix. Same thing happening here around that like 750 hertz mark, just pushing it up a little bit. So let's see what it sounds like with the EQ and then without the EQ. So first with the EQ. Without the EQ. So as you can tell, it kind of cleans it up a little bit, makes it more present, and kind of just makes it overall better in the mix, in my opinion anyway. Moving on, we have R bass, just to kind of excite some of those harmonics within the lower register. So around that 100 hertz mark is kind of pushing it ever so slightly. This is a really interesting plugin, and again, it's taken from Nolly in one of his mixing masterclasses. So let's just have it on and off and kind of compare the both and see what it's doing. So first we have it on. Off. So you can probably tell it's a little bit cleaner when it's off, but it doesn't have that low end kind of push when it's not on. When it's on, kind of just fills up everything a little bit more, sounds really, really good. Next in the chain, we have a little bit of multiband compression, or at least in this case, we're using FabFilter Pro and B. And what this is doing is kind of just clamping down every note that the bass is playing, just makes it a little bit more consistent, make sure nothing's peaking out. So as you can see, when the multiband compression kicks in, everything should be relatively level across the frequency spectrum. So on. Off. back on. Very, very subtle. And then last but not least, we have the L1 limiter, just to kind of make the bass sit in place in the mix. Whenever it goes over this certain peak of negative 7.3, it clamps down a little bit just to make all the playing even and consistent. And there you have it, that's the bass tone that I pretty much use in every single demo song that I make. As you can see, there's not really much happening. Most of the bulk of the work is coming from the great DIs that were captured within Djinnbass by Submission Audio. Then it's just getting put into Neural DSP's parallax, a little bit of EQ, multiband compression and limiting to kind of make everything level and consistent. And that's basically it. A lot of people will tell you that the sound is made from the source, and that is absolutely true, which is why Djinnbass is my favorite bass library on the planet. So there you have it, that's Submission Audio's Djinnbass and why I consider it to be one of the best bass libraries on the planet for modern metal and djent music. Again, if you guys like this video at any time, please feel free to leave a like and a comment on anything you saw or heard, and if you want to see more of this stuff, definitely think about subscribing. Again, if you want to support me directly, you can definitely check out the Patreon and all my affiliate links down in the description below. But until next time, I'll catch you guys later. Thank you so much for watching. Ciao.